Welcome everyone to session 3 on portals to non-duality. Or I guess you could say portals to, or access points to seeing or sensing into non-dual reality. So I'm going to delve into the present moment today as another portal to this, to seeing the truth. So we talked about the body in a previous session as a portal, and thoughts as a portal as well. And today's the present moment. And as somebody asked the question, what's so important about the present moment, or why do we focus attention on the present moment? And that's a really good question. It's why the present moment? What's there that is in particular conducive to sensing into truth or to presence, whatever we want to call it. So it's I guess I'm going to talk a lot about the different ways that we can do this, and then what can happen as we try to do this. Perhaps people have noticed when you set the intention to stay present with what's occurring moment by moment, that the mind has something to say about that. Right? The mind can chatter a little bit, it might say things like, this is kind of a waste of time, or we're not going to solve our problems by doing this, or how's this going to change anything, and so on and so forth. Just kind of, in a way, resisting the practice itself. And of course, the closer you get to the present moment as a portal, the more intense that resistance actually becomes. Because at that point, the self sees its own demise as perhaps imminent, as you see the truth of the kind of the fictitious nature of the egoic self, or the little me. So being present, being the portal of the present moment, enables us to kind of go beyond the time-based limited self, and it allows us to, first of all, see the truth of the illusory nature of the self, and also touch into something much deeper, to really touch into another dimension that's always present within us. So it's kind of, I see it as kind of having both of those purposes, I guess you could say. And when you align yourself in this way with the present moment, and I'll talk about sort of how we do that and the ways, but when we align ourselves, we actually align ourselves with an aliveness, and also an intelligence. You could say a true intelligence that's operating in the present moment. It's kind of this intelligence that I've spoken about in the past. It comes online, you could say, what we call wisdom in the practice. So it's the intelligence that's prior to form that resides in the formless. And remember, the key factor in the present moment, which was very skillfully pointed out in the guided meditation, is this idea of non-resistance to whatever appears as form in the present moment. Right? That's so easy to say, right? It's so easy for me to say that. Just accept whatever's arising in the present. It's so easy to say, and yet it's so challenging because there is resistance that comes up from the egoic self. Because the egoic self can only sustain itself can only maintain itself by resisting the present moment. As soon as you stop struggling with what's happening moment by moment, the egoic self just, it's transcended. It starts to dissolve. So it's going to, it'll jump back in, and you can actually see this. And that's also not a problem. I mean, you can say, wow, look at that. Look how fast the mind chatter will jump back in and pull me away or even challenge the practice itself. So just again, before I, another long preamble, but before I get further into this, remember that we don't take pointers such as the present moment to be truths or formulate them into new belief structures. It's just simply a finger pointing at the moon, and that's what when I'm directing us to the present moment. It's a pointer. Pointing to a potential access point to non-dual reality, or to our sensing into our true nature. It's just a pointer, because the essence is in you. It's in fact your very being. It's already there. You don't actually need an access point or a portal, because it's what you are at the most fundamental level. So just to remind us, I have to continually remind myself of this, not to take these pointers as a new belief structure or something to believe in, and that it's not something that I then practice to add something to myself in the future. Right? I'm not doing these practices to add something to myself. Somewhere it's going to happen. If I do this practice every day for the next year, then maybe something will happen in a year or 7 years. To kind of letting go of that notion of the time-based limited self, and letting go of the notion of the seeker. Letting go of this whole idea of being a seeker. So how do you go through the portal of the present moment? Come with me through the portal to the present moment. So the present moment simply means right now. So if your attention is on what's arising, what's appearing, what's happening in this very moment, then you're residing in the present moment. And your life only happens in the present moment. I've said this many times before. If you're in living in the virtual reality of the mind, in the future or the past, you're simply not living your life. You're living in a virtual field, virtual dimension. You're just thinking in the thinking mind. So, but even that happens in the present moment, right? Nothing happens that's not in the present moment. Even being lost in the future is happening in the present moment. Being lost in thoughts about the past also happens. So life is only unfolding in the present moment. And that's really important to get as a kind of first step. Acknowledging that is really important. That life only happens in the present moment. And I really see that as a first step in sort of practicing with this portal, is acknowledging that, yeah, this is my life, this is it. That's a big part of these mindfulness-based interventions, is we're getting people to see that, yeah, this is where their life is happening. This is their life, and to be in touch with life is to be in the present moment. That just that is huge and help in relieving people's stress, because they're now not creating all these. They're not in their minds creating stories and narratives that are then creating more suffering and stress for themselves, or more able to deal with what's unfolding in front of them, with more wisdom. So we acknowledge that life only happens in the present moment. It's very important to grok this at a fundamental and deep level. Have you noticed that when you listen to guided meditations, and even over the years here, that many meditations and practices have a subtle sense of the future embedded in them? A lot of the meditations that we engage in, there's some insight or awakening that will happen in the future if we engage in a practice. So many meditations and practices within insight meditation and other types of meditation have this underlying subtle notion of future in it. Like, for example, take concentrating on sensations in the body with the subtle notion that this will somehow settle the mind. You might maybe find that in some meditations, or feeling the breath in the belly, and in some way this perhaps calming us or relaxing us. But there's some notion of this then translating into some future occurrence. So the practices that I'm doing in this series have no sense of doing in order to get something in the future. That's why it's a portal to reality. Reality can be sensed into in the present moment, whether it's body in the present moment, thoughts in the present moment, feeling tone in the present moment. It's all happening in the present moment. What's John Kabat-Zinn's, the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction, his definition of mindfulness is paying attention in the present moment, on purpose, non-judgmentally. He's added in the notion of doing it intentionally, and he's added in the idea of acceptance of whatever's unfolding in the present moment, of mindfulness itself. So there's no sense of getting something in the future. It's just sensing into the now. As Eckhart Tolle calls it, the power of now. Sensing into the now, or the present moment. Now the seeker could jump in, will jump in, right? Say, no, we're doing this. We're going to get something out of this. Because the seeker wants to add something to itself. The self is constantly needing to add, right? To become better, to become more perfect, to resolve its faults, its imperfections. It's constantly this striving. So the seeking practitioner wants to get something in the future. So we're letting go of that. We're allowing that seeker to be, and in letting it be, seeing it dissolve. So these are practices that have no time to them. There's no time element. And you can't become good at it through time. Allowing everything to be as it is, you can't become good at it. This is why it seems so difficult to do. The egoic mind wants to become good at it. But the little me wants to go, yeah, I want to become really good at being in the present moment. And maybe I'll have something really cool added on to me. Whether it's I'll be less stressed out or I'll be enlightened or whatever it might be. Wants to become good at it. But these practices are not time-based. And you cannot really become good at them at all. The fictitious me can't really do it at all. Because this fictitious me, the little me, must struggle with the present moment to sustain itself. So you're really coming into touch with that deeper dimension itself. And the little me will poke its head in and narrate and comment and chatter. And from the deeper dimension, you're just simply noticing it. Simply noticing it. As you allow everything to be as it is. So instead of resisting the present moment, as we often do, as the human race pretty much always does, creates a kind of insanity for humanity. So instead of resisting it, we embrace it. We embrace it. And the egoic mind, the little me, fictitious me, will let you play around a little bit here. But when you really start to embrace all the present moments, it will vehemently resist. And that's what you notice. So this is really the key moment, is when the fictitious me starts to resist it, wants to struggle again. Simply notice, oh, look, that's just what happens. That's part of what's unfolding. So we don't resist any resistance. As you probably often hear teachers say, don't judge the judging, don't resist the resistance. So we embrace it. And I like the word embrace. And the way I kind of see it is you kind of surrender to the present moment. And in the surrendering, you can embrace it. Because it's okay. You can kind of surrender. I think, because that with the word surrender, I look at it and think, okay, we have pleasant things that happen and we have unpleasant things that happen. And we surrender, just go, okay, this is what's happening. But I see embracing, kind of taking it another, you're kind of going, oh, we can embrace pleasant things. Often we embrace them so tightly that we grasp them, right? But what the invitation here is to also embrace the unpleasant. And see the joy in it. I was just on a 2-week little holiday, cycling with a buddy through the Netherlands and Belgium. And then when we were done, I was in a city in Bruges, or Brugge, as they say in Flemish, in Belgium. And I wanted to go see the battlefield areas around Vimy and Ypres and those places, because my grandfather fought in World War I in all those areas. And so somebody said, well, rent a car and go to this place to rent the car. So I get Google Maps out, and it's like a 30-minute walk or something. So off I go, I walk, and it's beautiful walking. Nice weather. It started out, at least for walking. And I get to this place and they go, we only rent cars to Belgians. And so we go to this place. And so And by this, I've walked past highways and underpasses and all this kind of. So I think, oh, this is funny. And so I go start walking to Avis. It sounds like a place I might rent to on Belgium, and check on the phone, and yeah, they're open, and yeah, all this, but you can't rent online. So off I go. It starts raining, and I'm kind of going, oh, this is kind of unpleasant. I'm walking beside a kind of a highway, and there's fumes, and now it's raining, and I'm getting wet. And so I'm thinking, oh, this would, I guess, be classified as an unpleasant morning, right? But I was just kind of enjoying seeing the unpleasant of it. So I was kind of embracing the unpleasant. I get to the next place, and it's closed. And it even has the hours, and the hours include, the hours that I'm there. There's nobody, bang a bit and wait, nobody's come. It starts raining harder. So then I go, okay, well, now where am I? And I've got to get home, and it's pouring rain. So then I start, there's hardly any taxis that you can get. There's no Uber or anything like that. So off I go, and I start walking back in the rain. And by that point I was wet. So it was just kind of a joyous walk in the rain. Nothing to change. But it was embracing that unpleasantness that made it all kind of just another happening. Right? No problem. And all that time I was walking, some ideas kind of came to me about how I might do this tour another way. And when I got home, it was quite late by the time I got home. Well, late, it was after dinner. And I started, emailing, following up on some of the ideas, and somebody replied right away and said, I'd love to take you on this tour. I'll meet you at the train station in this city, and then we'll go. And so it all just happened and unfolded the next day. Yeah. So it was just kind of, and who knows, I could have rented a car, gotten a car accident, right? It could have all been the best thing that ever happened, that I never got this car. You just don't know. It's like that the farmer who got the horse, and all the villagers went, wow, that's really great. This story has been told. If he goes, maybe so, maybe not. And it ends up his son breaks his leg on the horse, and everybody goes, oh, that's terrible. And maybe so, maybe not. And then the army comes in recruiting able-bodied soldiers, and goes, oh, you're so lucky. Oh, maybe so, maybe not. You just don't know, right? So it's embracing whatever's unfolding in the present moment, because it's first of all, it's what's happening. So resisting it is just resisting what's already happening. And you don't know. Your brain may be saying unpleasant, but it could be the best thing that ever happened. Could be saving your life in some way. So we embrace it. We embrace it. So we surrender to it, and we embrace it. And I see those as very powerful practices. This embracing and surrendering and embracing. And you can do it anytime. Let's try it right now. Take this present moment. What do you notice? It has a particular form. And you're basically a form relating to other forms. So you can see your form, perhaps. You can see the other forms on the computer screen, other forms in your surrounding. The sounds, smells. You can taste. I taste a little bit of my hibiscus tea. So just simply being present for whatever it is. It's unlikely something unpleasant is happening right now. Maybe you have some pain in the body. Noticing that too. It's just what's happening. The mind may chatter. well, this isn't helping anything. This is not solving my problems. Damn it, I came here to solve problems. And this is not, you must get rid of this. And this isn't helping. This is not going to get me anywhere, and so on. It's simply noticing that what mind chatter might come in and embracing that too, and as part of the present moment. And when you kind of embrace the mind chatter as just what's happening, it really loses its juice pretty quickly. You may have noticed that as well, right? If you just kind of go, oh, there's the mind chatter. Isn't that interesting? It just kind of loses its juice. Just simply letting go and letting be into the present moment, letting go of the mind chatter, letting it be. So if you did the mindfulness of thoughts series with me, then you've probably become pretty proficient at noticing and letting go of the insistent or incessant mind chatter that happens, right? Perhaps you began even to embrace the mind chatter, not merely put up with it, but to actually embrace it. Wow, this is kind of amazing that the mind just does this. Can you like lay in bed when you can't sleep and the mind's chattering away and go, isn't this amazing? Look at this mind just go, go, go. I mean, one thought said it wanted to sleep, right? On one, the mind said, yeah, no, you need to sleep. But some other part of the mind is just talking away. And now you can just watch this with amazement. And you can kind of embrace it as just what's unfolding. It is amazing that this occurs. So 4 steps. The practical Stephen's going to come. 4 steps to the sensing into the portal of the present moment. So the first one is acknowledging that your life is happening in the present moment. Nothing happens that isn't in the present moment. Nothing. So you might as well, acknowledge that and go with it. So that's the first step. The second step is surrendering and embracing the present moment, no matter what it is, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And that can be a lot of fun too. Just seeing what's arising, pleasant or unpleasant. Of course, we've talked about this many times. It doesn't mean we become passively resigned and that we don't, act in our lives. Of course, we do. We act much more, actually, in a much wiser way. But we're surrendering, embracing the present moment, no matter what it is. So that's step 2. Step 3 is simply noticing mind chatter, whatever it is. So the mind will chatter about the practice or about what's being noticed in the present moment. There's about why you shouldn't be doing this or you should be doing something else, and just simply noticing that. So embracing that is simply another happening in the present moment. And then the 4th step is really when the portal part of it comes in, and that's sensing into and abiding in the space and stillness that naturally appears behind all the forms in the present moment. So when you do the first 3, there's a stillness, a spaciousness, a sense of presence that's kind of naturally appears. So it's something you have to go looking for. It naturally appears. It makes you aware of the stillness around the movement of form. So you become aware of a spaciousness and stillness around the form. And the mind may try to grasp that stillness. That's what minds do. So watch for this. But essentially, the stillness is the essence of your being. You're sensing into non-dual reality, the essence of your being, your true nature, your unconditioned, unborn, deathless nature. So it's sense into it again. The me may try to grasp it and may, just make more me stuff out of it. So we simply notice that. So this stillness, sensing into the stillness that's naturally appearing. And this is a really kind of a miracle that by accepting the present moment fully, that you can sense into your true nature. It really is a kind of a miracle to watch. It's amazing. I like both those words, miracle and amazing. They describe this portal and embracing the present moment regardless of whether it looks appealing, whether it's or not, according to the mind. Right? The mind likes to categorize everything as good, bad, like, dislike, pleasant, unpleasant, appealing, unappealing. So you just kind of have to let all that just flow through, be noticed, seen, and flow through. So whatever it is, whatever the present moment is, the car breaks down, somebody gives you a Ferrari, you get a headache, you have a beautiful sunny day for your bike ride, it rains on your picnic. You just say, oh, that's how it is. Spend all day trying to rent a car in the rain. That's how it is. And you might as well surrender to it because it already is as it is. Those two places were never going to rent me a car. No matter what I did. It was going to rain no matter what I did. I made the decision to walk out to rent them. So that was happening no matter what I did. So you might as well surrender. It's already happening. You can't fight what is. It still is. And you can respond, or try to remedy. I could have brought an umbrella if I didn't want to get wet. But in the meantime, what is still is. No matter what I do, at that moment still is as it is. Okay, I'll realize I got 4 more pages of little ideas here, but I think I've said as much as I need to on this. And I'd like to leave some time for some questions. I'd like to point out too that the when I talk about intelligence, true intelligence, this is really where this resides, is when you can really get in touch with true intelligence. And I think it really becomes perhaps clearest when you're accepting the present moment as it is. You really start to notice kind of wisdom. Wow, when I allow things to be as they are, I really do kind of act in a more intelligent, wiser way. I'm not fighting with what is. So I mean, the little me has a kind of intelligence. It knows how to really struggle with what is. Can do all kinds of fairly creative things to struggle with what is. But there's a deeper intelligence that emerges from another dimension when we just allow what is, that essence that's prior to the form of the little me, which you could call non-dual reality or God. Buddha nature, whatever you might call it. So yeah, I'll open it up for some questions or comments or poems. Yeah, Liette. You have to unmute yourself there. Yeah.
Just going to sign off for tonight, Kevin.
Oh,
Thank you, Stephen.
okay.
Thanks, everybody. Much appreciated. See you next week.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Stephen, thank you.
Yeah, that's thank you, Stephen, and Ioana for the dynamic duo tonight. It was I really enjoyed it. As usual, I'm kind of all stirred up and wound up as I sit down, thinking I'm never going to calm down, and then but not that was the goal. It was being present here tonight. I wanted to share something which was just an interesting insight right towards the end when you said there's this 3 steps in this 4th one, which I didn't really get. And so I wanted to let the mind just let go of that and say, okay, there's these 3. And then once you're sort of accepting and embracing the present moment and being aware of what's going on, for me, what I believe occurred to me in terms of a sense or what I'm seeing is that if you strip away everything, first of all, there's a mind that's talking without my control. There's a present moment I can't control. I'm just observing and accepting. So in the end, and I exist because I'm sitting here. So the significance of me is pretty small. That wasn't the words I think that occurred to me, but it was just that I'm just a being, in fact. And it's kind of fascinating that to think of myself as just, in fact, a being rather than, and I'm just here on this path, kind of more so being drawn through rather than in control. And I guess it's the illusion of control that makes me crazy. I spend a lot of time at crazy because I want to control things. So I don't know, that was just it led me to a different way to see things, which felt a bit freeing, that yeah, I exist and that's pretty much it. And boy, it's kind of easier. I don't know, not sure where that goes or what at all, but really had a bit of an insight that I hadn't saw it from an angle I hadn't seen before, which was kind of freeing. So thank you.
Yeah, you get the sense of I am nothing, right? I'm nothing. I'm just, things are just unfolding, and there's a sense of there's really nothing here.
And that's easy.
Yeah.
That's easier.
Yeah. And then the practice of sensing into non-duality is to also sense into the truth of that at the same time you're everything.
Mm. Mm.
You're nothing and everything at the same time, because your fictitious me is nothing, even though we think it's everything. We think it's what's most important. But when we can see that this fictitious me is it's nothing, we actually can then sense into the everything, the essence that's shared among us all, the one essence. We can begin to sense into that, and it's not. I'm glad you said, you know, you didn't get number 4.
Because I didn't.
Because you can't. That's
Okay,
good.
yay, I got the right answer.
You're always so honest, and that honesty will really be valuable in the practice, because you can't get the little me can do the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it can try anyway. I really it can't, but it can give it a valiant attempt. But the last one is just completely, you know, it's not something it's because it's what emerges naturally when the egoic mind is transcended. It's what emerges. What kind of it almost fills in. It's or some people talk about it, you know, it's coming down from above, but it also, I think, almost feels like it's just a filling in of stillness that naturally appears. Yeah, when the nothing part is transcended. Yeah. So don't go looking for it either. The fact that you can't do it is you know, just kind of sit with that. That's yeah. This I'm not. There's nothing I can't. All I'm really just being present and watching life, which is what's actually happening. And to say you exist, that's an interesting one. We could have a real session on that. Something exists, right? Something has to exist for us to have this dialogue. Something is existent, and that's really what we're trying to get in touch with. What we see with our senses. I mean, think about it. You got the sight. It's like it's receiving something and sending signals to a brain.
Just electricity and
Yeah, all
wavelengths.
these other senses, and if we think that's reality, then we're, you know, it's a constructed kind of version of my dog has a completely different, because he's got this sense of smell that, you know, is thousands of times stronger. So his version of reality, he reads the newspaper at a fire hydrant. You know, he sees the world by walking up to a fire hydrant. And so we just have these, you know, that's not our existence, and that's not reality. So we're really trying to sense beyond our limited me into our essential nature, into another dimension, a non-dual dimension, because our minds, of course, only think in dualities as well. Another distortion. Well, it's great that you can't get it. That's probably I should probably make that the fourth. The fourth step is realizing you can't get steps 1 to 3, and that as you realize you can't get the steps, you start to sense into the naturally appearing stillness. Yeah, so not trying to get it either. Yeah, thank you.
It's really good to see everyone, and thanks, Stephen. It's really good to have you back. Thanks for the great talk, and the meditation too, Joanna. It was really good. Thank you. It's been quite the past few weeks with this this direct experiencing. I feel like it's you know, it's really I feel like a lot of things have been falling away, and yeah, it's kind of interesting that one thing I've noticed is, you know, because of some of the other things that some of the other some of the methods that we were using, sensing things directly. And one thing I've noticed is subtle relationship to thoughts that I've been having. And simply by really I've noticed that, like, simply by there'd be like these subtle thoughts going around things, and as soon as I notice that, they'll just go away. And there was, you know, most of the time I don't think I'm having like a lot of big thoughts, but there's these little subtle thoughts they're like subtle resistances to, like, say I get like a little twinge of anxiety or something, and it's like my mind subtly resisting it somehow. And I don't know, it was something is, I feel like, shifted by noticing that kind of subtle aversion. And then it's like, yeah, the thought just kind of goes away. And it's I've noticed that my interactions with people in particular, like, just not really having any sense of fear, or like, you know, or like any hesitation. Like, I'm just like I just find myself very, very, like, much more open with people. And not really, you know, being too concerned about you know, what is this person going to think of me or anything. And I'm not really trying to do anything. It's just it's just kind of happening. And I think one thing that what you were saying about yeah, I've noticed that if I'm trying to directly experience these, whatever's going on, something in my body, or even the thought, directly noticing it when it comes, that almost right away, like any idea of pleasant or unpleasant, it just goes away. It's not there. You're just with the thing, and it's no longer like a bad or good. It's just there. And yeah, it's been I just want to thank you for giving this series, because I think it's I've really felt that it's without really having any goal, it just, I feel like it's yeah, kind of like there's been this fading away of these subtle resistances that I think are somehow being held onto. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next the next talk in the series. Thank you.
So is everyone present with the present moment? There was lots of moments there to just be present with the present moment. The mind may have been saying things like, oh, I hope somebody asks a question, or I wonder how long Stephen's gonna wait. Whatever, you know, just that's what's arising in the present moment. You just kind of notice. Maybe even some anxiety came up over, oh, how long is this gonna? depending on how you handle silence as well in a group, all kinds of. So it's just, anyway, just being present. I like to sometimes begin talks and just like where people don't know me, and I'll just get up there and I'll just sit there. You can just almost see their minds, or some people are, have more long practices, and they'll just realize, oh, it's we're starting with the meditation. Other people will just kind of they get all kinds of things happening, but then, yeah, just being with whatever the present moment is, as it is. And you'll start to notice that they're all beautiful and amazing and precious, even when they may not be defined by the egoic mind in that way. Yeah. I had a real nice moment with my father last night. He fell and couldn't get up, cut his arm. He called me at it's like 12:30 at night. They had these little buttons they're supposed to carry, but he didn't have it. So he was close to his phone, so he was able to call me. I went over there and bandaged up his arm. And but we had some real close moments. I said, "Would you want me to leave so you can go to sleep, or do you want me to sit down?" He goes, "Oh, sit down, sit down." So we just had some really nice moments. It's also bizarre. Yesterday, I took the St. John ambulance first aid course. So I actually knew how to bandage a cut arm, but and I had all the stuff to do it. Like the day before, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been looking for somebody to do it. I knew how to clean it and what kind of get sterile gauze, and I did the whole thing. But we had a real close moment. So it was, the mind could be going, this is so terrible. It's he fell, and that's causing some pain, but he's healing. But it's just what is, and just being seeing also the preciousness and beauty in even those kinds of moments. Is where I'm kind of directing us to, because embracing unpleasant moments can be a bit of a speed bump for some people in the practice.
Stephen, I just wanted to mention too, because I forgot to say this before, but what you just said kind of reminded with the speed bumps and embracing all the moments is even the clinging, even the clinging. When you embrace, I've been noticing that too recently. You embrace the clinging. And I think this is something you said before, is you look at it like, everything is a miracle, really. And like the it's not, clinging isn't wrong either. It's just, it's arising. The clinging is arising, just like our thoughts are arising. The clinging, I think it seems like the clinging to me feels like just another type of thought. It's another kind of thought that's coming. And yeah, you can just invite it into the party. and just notice it as well.
Yeah, that at an ultimate level, we embrace everything. Of course, the Buddha offered many teachings along the way, such as when we cling, when we grasp at the pleasant, the stuff we want, and push away the stuff we don't want. So which we call clinging, that we notice how this causes suffering as well. There's that aspect of the practice. So at a relative level, you can notice that, but I think we're going right to just accepting whatever is arising. So I'm kind of taking to a more the level of a portal to truth, to more direct, path teaching. But also, if noticing that clinging causes suffering is a key part of this practice. It's the Four Noble Truths. So if you cling and you believe it, you'll see, oh, well, look at the suffering. But if you cling and just see it as just another thought, of course, it doesn't cause anything, right? To take Jason's point, if you see, a thought that, oh, I don't want that, I don't like that, and you say, oh, that's just a thought. Of course, it doesn't cause any suffering. But if you believe the thought and try to get rid of it and struggle with it, then you can go, oh, I'm suffering. I can see the suffering that I'm causing. So I always, point to the truth of the not believing your thoughts.
Well, maybe there's a bit of a difference. The clinging, we can have some control. The thought, we have less control. So maybe there's a bit of a difference between the two, right?
You have control over the clinging.
Yeah, so over the clinging, we can try to have some control and recognize it and do something about it. The thought is more difficult to control. They are more independent.
Yeah. If you, I'm going to give you an ultimate teaching again. And well, if you think you have control over clinging, then you are at fault when you suffer.
Well, but isn't that the name of the game, to try to let go?
As you feel like it's your fault that you suffer,
Yeah.
it's because you believe that you have control over whether you cling or not. If you think you're in control of anything, you're going to suffer. That's a hard one to swallow for a little me. The egoic mind's going to go crazy on that one, because the egoic mind is all about control. That's all. I need to be in control. I need to struggle with what is to make sure that I survive and that I'm happy. That's the whole modus operandi of the fictitious in me. So when I say something like I know, Manuel, I'm poking I'm poking it a little, but I'm kind of, because I know you usually you reflect on these things that when I say them, so that's why I say them to you, and then you come back with some wisdom from it. So just ponder that for a little bit. If I think I'm in control, even of clinging, I'm going to suffer.
Oh, but don't we have agency over something?
Yeah, well, okay. So because that agency and control could be seen as the same. So we have, how much do we have? 2 minutes. The deepest question of all. So where does agency come in? I mean, and I've done some sessions on this, but it could be a whole series of talks. So what happens with accepting the present moment as it is. So when we're struggling with the present moment, we're just kind of being pulled around, right? The mind is saying things, and we're believing we're going this way and that way, and we tend to be very agitated, and stressed. When we accept the moment as it is, it doesn't, so the moment's already happened. We've accepted what's happened. But what happens next? Right? So what happens next when you've accepted the moment as it is? Options arise, right? What you do is comprised of options appearing in your head, right? And which option you choose just unfolds. So that doesn't sound like much agency, does it? But when you allow the moment to be as it is, you get in touch with a deeper wisdom, a true intelligence, as I sometimes call it, because what options arise from that deeper place are often very different from the options that arise from a struggling egoic mind. And so in that sense, that's the agency as you're allowing space for other options to emerge. And actually the path in that, when you're in touch at that level, the path forward is just very obvious. And it just arises quite spontaneously. So if there's that kind of agency at that deeper level, I guess you could say, but at the level of the egoic mind just has the story of agency, of control. It really has no control. And if you think it's just more and more suffering that gets created through that idea that we're somehow in control. But I'll have to end it there. I could again go on, but the notion of agency is an important one for a lot of people in terms of the practice, because they don't want to become passive or resigned to injustices in the world and so on. So it's important that we address that topic, and we'll see what comes up next week as a topic. Maybe how the portal, anyway, I'll let things percolate and see what comes up rather than do it live on the screen here with you. So everyone, thanks. It was great to see you all. I missed you while I was
Stephen,
away.
are you here next week?
I am booked to go on a camping trip but it looks like the weather's going to be pretty rainy and cold. So that's why I haven't brought it up. But so I'll very most likely be here. I mean, I'm embracing the present moment, but Vida and I embrace the present moment of rain on a hiking trip together. So we may forego that. Embrace some other moments. But thanks for asking. Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm not going to be here. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Good night.
Thank you,
everybody.
Stephen. Good night, everybody. Have a good week.
Yes,
You too. Bye.